Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you are watching this. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So, boy, you guys, after our live last night, many of us had to go to bed praying. We had to go to bed reading our books and our Bibles. We really had to cry out to the Lord because we knew the discussion we had last night was satanic, it was demonic, and it was mind blowing. Many of us felt almost surreal. Like, oh my gosh, what? Hi, Kent. Hey, Miss Debbie. Like, what are we living through? Like, what is this? And why are we seeing it? So, I just want to tell you guys what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to give you some history. And then I'm going to give you some more information because there was a lot of misconceptions, misinformation, and I don't like that. Like, how can we make informed decisions if we don't have all the information? So that's where we're going to start. So don't turn the video off. You're going to want to hear all of it. As usual, I come with receipts. Everything will be in the description of the video. You can look at the full videos yourself. You can dig in there. They're good starting points. For the ones of you that have never seen me, don't know who I am, my name is Samantha. I am a published author. I co-authored a book with a good friend of mine, Leslie. You can find that book on Amazon, eBay, Walmart. It's even on Kindle. The title is Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. Now, today, we're going to talk about Project Looking Glass, diamonds, something called virgin boy eggs, human waste being used on farms, and even placenta eating. But we're going to start in the Bible. And we're going to ask God, how does he feel about cannibalism? Because I think there's something going on that most of us are unaware of. I think that we're being either almost like formed as possible meat sources, or we're being fed them without our consent, without our knowledge, through everything like makeup, hair products, and medicines. Because when you're finding DNA in our hot dogs and our vegan burgers, we have a problem. So I want to start with Deuteronomy 18:10. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or daughter as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens or is a sorcerer. So God is directly saying, don't allow this type of behavior amongst you. Okay? Sacrificing people to these demonic gods. Now you might be asking me, Sam, like what gods, what demons was Jehovah speaking of here? I'm going to tell you. You can find it in Psalm 106, verses 36 to 38. They served their idols, which became a snare to them. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters to the demons. They poured out innocent blood, the blood of their sons and their daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. That made a light bulb go off. It made a light bulb go off because I'm like, Father, who exactly are the idols of Canaan? And are we still dealing with those today? And the simple answer is yes. A few, I guess probably about a year ago, I did a video about all these opening ceremonies with the big bulls coming out in the fire and all these people dancing and worshiping all of their, hold on guys, sorry. I'm going to learn to like turn my phone off when I do this. But there were a lot of people in these ceremonies, and when you watch them, you know that they're worshiping fallen or false gods. So here is a list of the Canaanite gods. one called El, E-I, one called Yam, Anet, Anat, Moloch, Baal, Dagon, and Azerati. All right, even Anet. So it goes on to talk about some of them are fertility gods, some of them are associated with fertility and motherhood, the goddess of war, and it just goes on. But the one that really caught my attention was Baal, who is often depicted with a bull's head and horns. Baal was a powerful god associated with storms, rain, and agricultural fertility. Having said that, let me show you what's happening across farms in America today. Agricultural fields where your food and food for the entirety of the world is being produced and then shipped off. Fertilizer from human waste faces scrutiny, but remains a profitable industry. Concern is growing over forever chemicals and biosolid fertilizers. This was August 7th, 2024. Let me explain something to you guys. Biosolid. What is a biosolid? So biosolids are human waste products, feces, urine, blood, anything you flush down your toilet that goes to an area. Like cities are really good about biosolids, right? So it goes to the sewage department. And then they run a bunch of tests and they purify it and they clean it. And then they dry it into a biosolid that looks much like rotted cow manure. But then they have a problem. What do we do with all this human poop, right? Like, where do we put it? What do we do with it? So they sell it. They sell it to farms. I know this because I am a homesteader who has worked extensively with the USDA, the LSU Agricultural Center, Southern Agricultural Center. I do homesteading conferences and I teach lessons on my 2-acre farmstead on organic no-till gardening, how to market garden without biosolids and the World War II chemical waste that they turned into fertilizer. Like, that's something I do all the time. Now, the issue is that all these large farms who do monocropping and all that other stuff, well, they need fertilizer. So they figured if we purchase fertilizer in biosolids from the county or the state, we get it at almost nothing and we can grow food. Okay. It says here, walking through her wooded 38-acre donkey farm in central Oklahoma, Treywick suddenly found it hard to breathe as the air smelled toxic and like death. Less than a mile away, a truck was spreading a chunky, dark fertilizer on a hay form, a familiar ritual in this rural community just beyond Oklahoma City's northeast suburb. But this fertilizer was putting off a smell that Treywick had never encountered. She soon discovered the fertilizer was made from processed sewage. Converting sewage to fertilizer saves cities money on landfill cost, is cheaper than nutrient-rich fertilizers for farmers, and has become a billion-dollar industry for a handful of companies. However, biosolid fertilizers has been shown to contain chemicals that can harm not only the environment, but livestock and humans. Essentially, anything that goes down the drain will end up in this field. Scientific studies are increasingly warning about the PFAS, PFAS, chemicals that are considered forever chemicals, right? Can be found in many water and heat resistant products, personal hygiene materials, medication, and industrial waste. But while some states have recently restricted or banned biosolid fertilizers entirely, after finding it contaminated groundwater and farmland, Oklahoma has attempted to take steps this year to protect cities and corporations from liability if new health problems are found. So basically, what's happening are certain states like California is saying, hey, look, we're going to pass laws that say if you eat food from a farm that has had biosolids dumped all over it, you can't sue. All right. So this is very disturbing because biosolids don't just have manure and urine, they have blood. So now you're taking human waste products. I mean, okay, now this is very personal, but I know of women who have had spontaneous miscarriages. That's how I'm going to say it while sitting on a toilet. Okay. That's just, it happens. They're cramping, they don't know what it is. And that goes down too, right? Into sewage. So now all of that's being taken and put on fields that your food's growing, where hay is being grown that's going to be fed to livestock in some roundabout way. What do you guys feel about that? And do you think that is like a soft form of cannibalism in the fact that you're ingesting things that you should never ingest? I'm only asking because I think that we need to start looking at this for what it actually is. Because what did I tell you at the beginning of this video? What did Psalms say about ingesting, cannibalism, that kind of stuff? That people were sacrificed to the Canaanite gods. The number one Canaanite god is the agricultural god, right? And now we see that biosolids are being placed where? On agricultural fields. I'm just saying, you know, high intelligent people have something called pattern recognition, right? So you have to be able to see the pattern. You have to see the big picture. Who in the world ever decided human feces could be placed on an agricultural field and that would be a good thing, right? And let me stop right here and go ahead and let everybody know, August 15th, 2025, we are doing a platform Zoom. So all of you that row in the boat, they get the monthly newsletter that has, you know, helped us try to raise money for Hammers MRI or just, you know, bought me a cup of coffee, whatever you did, you'll get your information for the Zoom. Look in your email. And then if it's not in your regular email, make sure you check your spam. That should come out probably around Tuesday. Leslie and I were just talking about it. We're going to do a Zoom again, August 15th. We're going to do it on a Friday night this time to give more of you the option of being there. All the information will be in the email. Now, having said that, I think now we need to go one step further. Okay. Like we have to go further. Last night, I was talking to you about how there is this restaurant supposedly in California called the Cannibal Club. Now, as I dug more into that after the live, I found information saying that that was false. It was a rumor. It wasn't real. And then I found information that said that that's been going on for generations. The Cannibal Club is actually something, somebody sent this to me from the Smithsonian Magazine, that the Cannibal Club has actually been around since the 1800s. You heard me. The Cannibal Club, racism and rabble-rousing in Victorian England. The original Cannibal Club that was created in Victorian English times was poets and physicists and musicians and artists and even eventual politicians who did not believe in any one religion. And basically, there was a lot of homosexuality, a lot of witchcraft. They really pushed the boundaries of what was considered polite society. So it was the beginning, and it was literally called the Cannibal Club. It was a group. It was an organization, right? So that is real. Now, whether or not we're ever going to find a restaurant per se in California by the Cannibal Club, I don't know. I'm not from California. I found information saying it was real. I found information saying that it was not real. Do your own research, right? Now, a lot of people are like, oh, it can't be real. There are laws in America that says cannibalism is illegal. Actually, there is not. You heard me right. There are no laws forbidding the eating of human flesh? None. None. Not one. I know, right? So mind-blowing. However, let me find it for you guys. And I will, again, link all videos, and I will link all news articles for you. Let me find it. Hold on. Let me find what I'm looking for. Okay, so it must be in my photos. Hold on. I try to photo and then hold up the original videos also. Hold on. I'm looking, guys. Give me a second. It's a lot of information. Oh, in the original Cannibal Club's central activity was the production and distribution of colonialist pornography for their circle of other elite consumers. So the Cannibal Club was also the people that began what we know as modern day pornography. So you cannot even separate cannibalism, sex cults, and the elites. Like, it goes all the way back into the 1800s. And again, this was from the Smithsonian magazine. I'm trying to find it. Okay. However, despite society's general revulsion to something as morbid and taboo as cannibalism, the act is not explicitly outlawed in the United States. That's right. According to the Legal Information Institute at Cornell University, there is not one law on the books at the federal level in the United States that specifically prohibits the eating of another person. Let that sink in. So no, for all the people claiming, no, this can't be true, it's illegal to eat humans. No, it's like literally it's not. But there are laws in most states which make it illegal, at least indirectly, to obtain and consume human flesh. For example, murder is illegal everywhere. So that prevents quite a lot of cannibals from getting dinner. They're kind of making a joke there. Even if a person gives another his or her consent to eat them and then commit suicide, the cannibal could still face criminal and or civil charges of desecration of a corpse, which varies among state to state. So there's a lot of loopholes. Why are there so many loopholes? Because I fully believe that you and I are, without our permission, to some degree, we are being fed human blood, body parts, all of that without our permission. That is what I am finding to be true through everything that I'm researching. Now, let's keep going, okay? There is something that I found that I kind of thought it was weird because I have to bring that up to you guys. Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Like, at his trial, he admitted that he was trying to create zombie slaves. People who would be there for him and that would do anything he wanted sexually. So I think the sin of like sex, is always kind of wrapped around cannibalism when you really start to look into it. Hold on. Ashes. A lot of people are taking their loved ones who have been cremated and they're turning them into diamonds. Here's my question. It's easy to find. It's out there all over the place. In fact, it says you might think the idea of turning ashes into diamonds has only dawned with the rise of high tech, but that is only partially true. Going past the novelty of the process, the notion of mourning jewelry dates back again to the Victorian era. It is then when people have started to turn locks of their loved ones' hair into rings, brooches, or pins. In the end, it's about people using the technology of their time to dive into the concept of continuing bonds. My question for you is, when did technology realize that humans could be compressed into a diamond? And why in the world would anybody attempt that if they did not have a nefarious reason behind it? Now, I want you to imagine all the galas and all the red carpets and all the diamonds bedecking all the elites. And I want you to think about the term blood diamond. And I really want that to just hit somewhere. And I want you to ask yourself some deeper questions. The science behind ashes to diamonds. With the constant progress of science, it isn't unexpected that humans have found a way to mimic some of the greatest geological forces that exist. But with human bones, like why? Right? Why? Why would that ever be something somebody tried out? The secret behind the ashes to diamonds technology lies in carbon. This element is what diamonds are made of. Carbon also represents 18% of the human body. This is reason why, after the cremation process, the remaining ashes can be used by scientists as raw material for manufacturing diamonds. So are diamonds really a girl's best friend? Now this one's very, very to me. Do you see that? Those are chicken eggs that have been soaked in little boy urine. They call it virgin boy eggs. Yeah, that's China. But I'm going to show you, we're going to go one step further. We will talk a little bit about the virgin boy eggs, but we're going to talk about a young woman. I'm going to show you both sides of this. Some people say this is a hoax. It did not happen. This young woman was never a model. She was later found living somewhere else and she had mental problems. I'm going to show it to you and I'm going to let you make up your mind what you want to believe. Let me get it pulled up for you guys. Hold on.
Button. Share this bad boy too.
I wasn't aware. They smell like flesh.
This is absolutely insane. Just so y'all can know what we're watching 21-year-old Gabriela Rico Jimenez. And she was filmed after claiming she had attended an exclusive elite party. And she's given all of the great details, the grand details of what happened inside of that party. She's talking about how they were in that party eating humans. There was a bunch of unalive people in that party. There was a bunch of unalive babies in that party. They were eating babies. They were eating babies. She went missing in 2009. This 21-year-old young lady has been missing for 16 years, all because she exposed the elites. Here's the longer version right here.
All right, so let me get the longer version going.
Party. She ran out from everything she had seen. Listen.
at the assassinations as a small thing. She said, well, I didn't know much of anything, but yeah, I knew about the assassination, but I definitely didn't know that they was going to be in there eating people. So she ain't have no issue with all the other stuff she was seeing, is what she's saying. Yeah, I knew about the assassinations. I didn't care about that. They didn't kill a whole bunch of people. I knew about that for a long time. But when they started eating them, okay, I knew I was at the wrong party. I don't know what it took, but it took that for her to really explode. You heard that? She's fighting them off. She is fighting them off. She said, you're not taking me anywhere until this thing is taken care of. She said, you're not taking me anywhere until we clear all of this up. And they're trying to get her. Wow, she was 21 years old at this point. I don't know if she was from, they do this to everybody. They will say you're crazy. They will put you in a house. They will put you in a home, or just tuck you away somewhere, or just get rid of you and act like you went missing. Somebody snatched you and took you across the border or something like that. Jesus, this is crazy. And then she said, you people had me there. Hold on one second. So you can make a copy of me. She said, you had me there so you can make a copy of me. Her name was Gabriella. I will link the videos, the original ones, in description. You can go watch them. Now, I did a video, like, was it 2 days ago? A live. So if you go look for it, you've got to go to my homepage. Don't go to videos or shorts. You've got to go to lives. And I showed you guys patents on cloning, and not just cloning, taking your memories from yourself and putting it into a new sleeve. I showed you that. Yes, it's possible. Now, the next one I'm going to show you pertaining to this young woman, the guy plays devil's advocate. And he's like, oh, you know, it's not that bad. Blah, 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 blah. You know, maybe I think I found her somewhere else. I think she was mentally ill, because internet people went looking for this young woman after this. It was on TV. It was on the news. Her screaming about them eating the people, smelling like human flesh. She knew about the assassinations. They were there just to clone her. Then the police take her and she drops off the radar. So people went digging. And this young man that does the next video is like, well, I mean, isn't that a far stretch that they could totally erase somebody from the internet? No, you never heard about Project Looking Glass and what they can really do? So let's watch a little bit of that one.
She was never seen again. Shortly after all this occurred, several bloggers decided to take a deeper look into this to figure out what exactly she was talking about. A few early bloggers pointed out that Gabriella was actually a well-known supermodel, making runway appearances in Mexico City, Paris, and New York. Apparently, she even made an appearance on the Mexican version of Cosmopolitan magazine. Her high-profile status would make this rant and subsequent disappearance all the more eerie. Oddly enough, if you look up Gabriela Rico Jimenez, you will find no evidence of her ever being a model. It's as if, aside from this news appearance, she was a ghost. Because of people's insistence that she was indeed a famous model, it has been speculated that people behind this conspiracy wiped every trace of her from the internet in an attempt to silence her and reduce her credibility. In Gabriela's tirade, she mentions that Carlos Slim was behind all this. Carlos Slim is a Mexican businessman, and at the time of this event, he was the richest man in the world. So, as far as some Illuminati-level conspiracy goes, people felt he was financially capable. It didn't help that there were further rumors about Gabriella being close to one of Carlos Slim's sons, which may have given her the opportunity to witness some shady business he was involved in. But this is all just unconfirmed hearsay at this point. Gabriella also speaks of a man named Mourinho being killed. For more context behind this, Gabriella is talking about a Mexican politician named Juan Camilo Mourinho Terrazo. He was affiliated with the National Action Party and was a secretary to President Felipe Calderon. One of Moreno's responsibility was leading a government campaign against Mexican drug cartels. Just 1 year prior to this news broadcast, he died when a private jet he was flying in crashed into traffic in Mexico City. The crash killed everyone on board the plane, along with 7 people on the ground. At the time, the public was skeptical about the cause of the crash. 2 black boxes police found from the crash were sent to the United States to determine the cause, which was found to be a result from turbulence because of the pilot's failure to slow down in time. If we want to take Gabriella's rant seriously, then maybe this crash was not an accident at all. As internet investigators continue to dig into this, looking for...
And like I said, you'll find the entirety of these videos in description. So let's be very honest. I think of turbulence like this in a plane. Turbulence actually holds you, okay? When a plane's flying, it's like it's in jello. I don't believe turbulence has actually ever caused a plane crash. That was a pretty, out there kind of explanation for that. I just want you guys to understand that the food you're eating is being grown with biosolids. Okay? We know that they're using foreskins of little boys and products people use on their face. You've got the Red Shoe Club, and that is actually a real club. I'm not even talking about the conspiracies behind the Red Shoe Club. I'm talking about the organization itself is very real. You can find it. It takes just a second. We know because of the videos and the information I've been bringing you guys that the CIA has been involved with countless undercover, top secret projects using time travel, remote viewing, and MK Ultra mind control. Children are always the easiest to control. Now I'm going to show you something called placenta eating. And I want all of you women out there who are considering this to be very careful. Before we do the placenta, let me show you this real quick. This is interesting.
Side Bill Gates, because Jeff Bezos is getting in the lab-grown food game. Jeff Bezos came out with a FDA-approved lab-grown salmon without any independent testing or peer-reviewed studies, relying solely on Wild Type's self-reported data. Wild Type is the name of the company. And yes, you heard that right. It is lab-grown salmon. No animal trials were conducted to assess health impacts, bypassing normal safety protocols expected for new food technologies. The product was approved under the GRAS, generally recognized as safe loophole, a mechanism critics say is not suitable for novel biotech foods. How convenient. Details about chemical additives, nutrient cocktails, and growth factors like FGF2, which may pose long-term health risks, were not publicly disclosed. The FDA's regulatory decision lacked transparency, sparking concern that public health oversight is being outsourced to private corporations. This has been a criticism for quite some time. Why are private corporations involved in something that the government should be paying attention to? Unlike lab-grown meat, which shares oversight with the USDA, lab-grown seafood is solely regulated by the FDA, leaving critical gaps in food safety governance. Critics argue that the FDA's move sets a dangerous precedent, allowing experimental foods into the market with minimal scientific scrutiny. States like Florida and Alabama are already pushing back, proposing or passing laws banning the sale of lab-grown meats and potentially extending those to seafood. I don't know why you would automatically do that. Environmental claims made by a Wild Type remain unverified, with studies showing lab-grown proteins that may require more energy and emit more CO2 than traditional meats. But these billionaires can get away with this. You and I, if we fart in the wrong direction, that's a problem for CO2. But these guys can do whatever it is that they want because they're billionaires. Public trust is eroded in billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who can fast-track controversial food products through a regulatory system that appears to be captured or complacent. And that's the problem that we have with our regulatory agencies, is that they're captured. And what that means is that there's a lot of people who were previously in government who were offered a lot of money to leave or retire from the government office and then go into lobbying for these companies. We'll step aside Bill Gates because.
So I'm just saying, folks, there's a lot going on out there. I think the level of depravity, the level of anger in people, because if you go back and watch the live from last night, where I start with showing you how pigs that eat pigs, hold on, guys, Hammer's in my bedroom, and you guys know he hasn't been feeling well. I need to pause 1 second and go get him. This is a live. Don't hold it against me, and let my dog outside, all right? Because he's not feeling well, and he comes first. So hold on. Hold on, baby. Mama's coming. Can you go outside? Come on, baby. Come on in. Go outside, sweetheart. Go on. You're all right. Sorry. I had to let my baby outside. And again, we do not get paid. YouTube has not paid me for over 4 months. So if you'd like to donate to Hammer's medical bills, and also has a brain aneurysm, a lot going on over here. But if you send $1, we can get you linked in with our newsletter and invite you to the Zoom. Let me show you what placenta eating looks like.
That feeds a baby during pregnancy. And apparently some moms are really into consuming the placenta after giving birth for the health benefits, which are supposed to include balancing hormones, alleviating postpartum depression, and increasing milk production. Placenta eating has been a part of traditional Chinese medicine for centuries, but the practice is fairly new to the US and has stirred up some controversy.
There's this thing where people are eating their placentas. Women are eating their placentas.
I say go for it. At the end of the day, it's your placenta, and you can do with it what you want.
I'm about to go talk to Yehudi Shaboni, who is a doula that also does placenta encapsulation. And she has a fresh placenta for us.
Hey,
Hi.
come on in.
So placenta encapsulation.
I know. Placenta encapsulation is essentially the process of dehydrating, grinding, and then putting the placenta into pills. So kind of explaining what I've done before you got here. I made sure to sanitize everything. I actually first clean everything with bleach, and I kind of line the actual sink for your protection and for all the inhabitants of my house as well. So I'm just going to put on some gloves.
Yehudet, or Yomi, is a doula, meaning she provides assistance and emotional support to pregnant women. Placenta encapsulation is just one of the services she provides. How did you get into this?
For me, it really started with my own birth experience. I had heard about placenta encapsulation, and my thoughts were kind of like, cannibalism, ew, that's scary. But when I was pregnant with twins, actually, I started to do a lot more research, and I figured like the worst they could do is not work, and maybe it could even help me. So this is the placenta. Okay, here we go. You can start to see the blood. The minute I got the placenta pills, and started taking them, I felt so much energy. I felt like I just got a lot healthier and healed a lot quicker. You can see this guy here is a sac. Yeah, there was a baby in there. I want to try to do a placenta print, which is a piece of art made by your placenta. And then a lot of moms actually put it up in the baby room. Really up to you, definitely not necessary for the process. So the next thing I want to do is actually wash it. See that?
Oh, it's
gorgeous.
clear.
Yeah, isn't that gorgeous?
Oh. Do you have to be certified? Like what
a great
sort of
question.
qualifications do you have to do this?
Right. So technically there is no like national board of placenta encapsulation. What I am certified, which I think is actually important, is OSHA laws, which is how you handle food for public consumption.
You can't smell the placenta.
No, because it's not.
It's actually called FSMA, Food Safety Modernization Act. I have videos on that under my USDA overreach. So she even mentioned that possibly you could consider it a form of cannibalism, and she was concerned about it. Let me read you guys something. I've got to find it, so give me just a second. Deuteronomy 28:53 through 57. Let's see what God says about eating your placenta. And you shall eat the fruit of your womb, the flesh of your sons and daughters, whom the Lord your God has given you in the siege and in the distress with which your enemies shall distress you. The man who is the most tender and refined among you will begrudge food to his brother, to the wife he embraces, and to the last of his children whom he has left, so that he will not give any to them. Any. In other words, he's going to let everybody starve around him. The siege, right? He said he will not give to any of them any of the flesh of his children whom he is eating, because he has nothing else left. In the siege and in the distress with which your enemies shall distress you in all of your towns, the most tender and refined woman among you, who would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground, because she is so delicate and tender, will begrudge, in other words, refuse to share, to the husband she embraces, to her son and to her daughter, her afterbirth, the placenta, that comes out from between her feet, and her children whom she bears, because lacking everything, she will eat them secretly. In the siege and in the distress with which your enemy shall distress you in your towns. Let me see. There's another one. Hold on. Deuteronomy 28:53. And you shall eat the fruit of your womb, the flesh of your sons and daughters, whom the Lord your God has given you in the siege and in the distress with which your enemies shall distress you. Deuteronomy 12, take care that you do not be ensnared to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods, that I also may do the same? You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abominable thing that the Lord hates, they have done for their gods. For they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods. Lamentations. The hands of compassionate women have boiled their own children. They became their food during the destruction of the daughter of my people. The Lord gave full vent to his wrath. He poured out his hot anger, and he kindled a fire in Zion that consumed its foundations. Isaiah 49:26, I will make your oppressors eat their own flesh, and they shall be drunk with their own blood as with wine. And all flesh shall know that I am the Lord your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. Acts 15:29, that you abstain from what has been sacrificed, and from blood, and from what has been strangled, and from sexual immorality. If you keep us from it, you will. I told y'all, it's all tied back. It's all tied back to like sexual immorality, cannibalism, witchcraft. You can't separate them. Leslie and I were talking, the lady that writes the newsletter and co-authored the book with me, about possibly doing a search of the cities in the Old Testament and the New Testament and the sins that surrounded those cities, and then the punishments that happened to those cities, and then finding cities in today's world, in America and around the world, that match those cities, and talk about how those sins correlate and what demons surrounded those areas, what was going on in those cities that we as Christians need to be aware of, that is happening again in modern day world. And how do we pray against that? Because listen, all this is great. All these rabbit holes talking about what all these elites are doing. But if you don't know how to fight this in the legal aspect of the Constitution, and you don't know how to pray about it in the spiritual aspect of the Bible and being covered in the blood, then what good is this knowledge? Because knowledge it's deeper than that. And that is where so many people fall off, because you go into these rabbit holes, but you're not coming at it from the Christian standpoint. Like, what is the purpose of me showing you all of this? It is to tell you that it is worse than you realize. The end times are coming. We are doing things in today's America that they did in the Old Testament before entire cities were salted, burned, or turned to sand. So what does that tell you? Jesus says, I'm going to come back, and it's going to be like in the days of Noah. So I don't tell you these things because it's just a fun topic and I've got nothing better to do on my Saturday. I'm telling you this because as a Christian, you have to know how to arm yourself. And the Bible is all we need, because God's already told us this is what's happening. When people are eating the afterbirth from between their legs, your city is already under siege. But does that have to be a physical siege, or is it a spiritual siege? Because I'm pretty sure if you go look at all these Democrat strongholds, these blue cities, that you can feel the demonic possession happening, the lawlessness, the chaos, the total insanity of the people living in these cities. Thank you so much, Crystal. At the end of this live, I will list at the top of comments all the different ways you guys can donate or where you can purchase our book, anything that you want to help us do so we can continue to do this. I don't get paid. I haven't gotten paid. Why would they pay me? I'm trying to break strongholds and bring knowledge. Now, if I was cussing and discussing homosexuality in a positive light, I'd be making about $8,000 a month. Then I'm not selling myself. Oh, wow. Listen to this one. Exodus 34. Lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and when they whore after their gods and sacrifice to their gods, and you are invited, you eat of their sacrifice, and you take of their daughters and for your sons, and their daughters whore after, and make your son a whore for their gods. Told y'all, it's all connected. It's all connected. And I'll leave you with this, 2 Corinthians 5:8. Yes, we are of good courage, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. And we know that. We all know that. If you look at what's happening right now, they're trying to say in Israel that the red heifers, none of them were the right heifers. I think that's all smoke and mirrors. I think they've already sacrificed the red heifer. I think they have the ashes. I think they're going to prepare the temple very soon. Yeah, a lot of people say that, Stacy. But if you read your Bible, Bible. Read your Bible, folks. And yeah, somebody said, well, animals eat their placentas. Of course they do. They're in the wild. You have a newborn puppy or kitten or cow or horse, and you've got all this placenta there. What is that going to attract? Predators, ants, insects. They eat that to clean up because they don't have hands. They don't have bleach. They don't have a shovel to go bury it. And that's why. So, I mean, you know, if you live on a farm, you learn a few things. They eat the placentas to protect the babies, to keep predators from finding their young. They also lick them clean. But that's very different. You and I are sentient. We're sentient. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have souls, we have spirits, we have a physical body. And our Father in heaven gave us a book called the Bible to just guide us, to just explain to us that things that we're doing could be in worship of false gods, even if it's out of innocence and you don't know. If you ask the Holy Spirit, he'll show you where those things are. I'm not a religious person. I'm saved by the blood, and my Lord is Jesus. Okay, he's my Savior. He's my Father. Rarely do I discuss religion unless I'm pointing out where the occult has come into the place of worship and it needs to be pushed out. Why? Because you're free to worship your God, the God of Abraham, any way you choose. And I believe religious-minded people cause more issues than they do helping because they want to live by the law. I'm living by the freedom that my Father gave me when he died on that cross. That is true love. So I love you guys so much. I really do hope some of you will pray about joining our newsletter and our Zooms and helping us. We are trying to raise enough money for all these medical costs, not just for Hammer, but my husband. It's a lot going on, but I'm going to continue to do what the Lord has told me to do. And I hope some of you will just hop in the boat and row with us. Please check out our book. We were #1 in our category for new releases on Amazon. And I was so excited. It's called Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. It's an amazing book. Hope all of you subscribe and get in the boat with us. But that's up to you. Guys, be blessed today. Stay safe out there.